Alright guys, so picture this. You're driving down the road, you're going right around 45 to 50 miles an hour in your vehicle. And what you're going to find is when the vehicle gets into overdrive, you're going to be at a low RPM when you're going right around 45 to 50 miles an hour. Because that's when the torque converter locks up, that's when the RPMs drop, and that's again when overdrive kind of comes into play with your engine. So years ago, this has happened on my truck before. I'm driving right along, my truck goes into overdrive at right around 45 miles an hour. And as I would lean into the accelerator, not making it downshift, not making the torque converter unlock, all of a sudden the engine would start to misfire. And it would be like a boom, boom, boom. And I know that sounds funny, but that's what your engine's doing. It's missing. And the whole truck would shake. And the more you'd lay in at that low RPM and like 45, 50 miles an hour range, the truck would start shaking more and more, and you could hear it out the exhaust because, again, the engine is missing. So a lot of people would realize their vehicle's misfire and they're panicking. They don't know if it's coming from the engine. They think it might be the transmission. They think it might be the torque converter. You know, it's one of those things where anytime your vehicle is shaking like that, it's a little alarming, especially when it's coming at around 45 to 50 miles an hour, which is just when the vehicle gets into overdrive typically. It really is going to make you think that there's an issue with the transmission. I've had this happen, I've had friends that have had this happen, and I've had other family that's had it happen. And every time it's going to be a dirty coil on plug. So I'm going to show you some of the clips that I had when I made that other video. I'm also going to link down below and put a little clickable link here in the top of the video so that you guys can access that how-to video. But what happens is the connector on the bottom of the coil on plug gets corroded. And what happens is then the electrical charge, however that all works, I'm not an electrician, it's arcing. Think of it like a device you had growing up where you had corrosion on the springs where the batteries go, and then the device doesn't work. It's the same idea. It's arcing, it's not making a good connection, and so it's going to kind of miss in terms of an engine, right? It's not getting that full firing for the cylinder, and it's not going to run properly, especially in overdrive, because at a low RPM, that is some of the heaviest load that the engine is going to get. You're lugging the engine, you're giving it more gas, that's a huge electrical charge, and that's really what's going to reveal the health of your ignition system. So what I did was I made that video where I showed you how to clean those contacts. I call it a spade connector in the video. That's just what I call it. You take a Phillips head, you clean it off, and then you want to make sure that you get all of that corrosion off. And then I was using some contact cleaner to make sure I was getting all the debris out. After I've done that, follow the steps in that video, I get a new spring and boot kit. This is the most economical way to remedy that misfiring issue. Typically, at least for the Ford vehicles, you can usually get a set of these. Standard is one brand. That's what I've used a few times now. And they're usually like $30, $28. I know other makes and models have them as well. There's a lot of support for those coil on plugs because they're expensive. And the thing that I will tell you is OEM is always going to be the best. There's something about the quality control, there's something to be said for that, and for a lot of people, I just don't think it's worth the gamble to spend 60 to 150 on a set of 6, 8, 10, however many cylinders you have, when you could keep the ones you have and spend an absolute fraction of that and some time to clean the connection and replace the springs and the boots. So hopefully that gives you some guidance and something to try before you start panicking about the transmission. It's almost always when you're lugging the engine just in overdrive, 45, 50 miles an hour, the torque converter locks up, you give it some gas, and that thing just lugs, and it really is going to show you any sort of, faulty issues with your ignition system. So you just want to clean those contacts, like I said, rebuild your coil on plugs with new springs and boots, and hopefully that will take care of that annoying issue. If you guys have any questions whatsoever, let me know down below. I always appreciate it. And for now, guys, that's going to do it. I appreciate you guys watching. We'll talk to you in the next one. Take care.